Hi everyone. Wow, yes, it's loud. Hi, thanks for having me. So today I want to talk about my past experience basically, and currently also what I'm building. And the title is a bit clickbaity, but yeah, stay with me and let's dive in. Okay, so. Anyways, so my name is Merab Kutalia. For the last Anyways, so for the past decade, I've been building software and mostly Android for the past 6-7 years. But I'm quite heavily involved into managing and leading Android, like the mobile teams. So if you are curious, I'm very active in the community, and I'm GDG organizer, Google Developers expert for Android, so you can check out the profile and maybe we can connect. So building high-quality apps without testers. So, as I told you, this is clickbaity. I'm not going to advocate it, but just offer a different perspective on this topic, because testing is always very controversial topic for the different organizations, for different cultures, and the organization size also matters. It's quite different from the early stage startups to the quite huge organizations. At my past company, it was called Choco, unicorn startup with billion valuation. We switched from having the manual QA to have then the QA engineers, mostly automation engineers, and then to no QA. And this is already sounds controversial, but at the big tech, like the FANG, the engineers are becoming like the QA engineers becoming the thing of the past mostly, and most teams switch to the fully automated QA-less teams. And for instance, SoundCloud, one of the most famous music streaming platform, doesn't have any QA, and they started that way. So it means that in that field, it's quite a lot to research and also take the example. How usual development process looks like in many typical organizations is that engineers think that they have to basically boil some feature at some point. Sometimes it's even at the raw stage, and throw it to the next column for the tester to test it, and that's it. That's a short feedback loop for them, and it's like throwing the hot potato to in the same team, but to another teammate. And the engineers mostly, because they build the product, they think that someone will just catch the error or like some kind of logical error in the application at the end of this development lifecycle before the release. So they're quite safe at this point, even though something will not work out. Testers are there, and they can catch this in the process, and the ticket goes to the to-do column again. But this is not really healthy attitude from the long-term perspective and from the organization. And to get more insight on this, there is a very common situation I want to talk about. It's typical, probably sprint in the organization is like the engineers working hard on some product, like the feature, maybe adding some feature to display for example, similar products in the product details or whatever, and this engineer is working hard to put everything together with the backend folks, with the other web engineers, iOS, mobile engineers, just to collect all the data necessary and put the code together, and then move the ticket to the next stage, which is like the code review. And the code review gets approved from the engineers because, hey, the code looks good. Okay, yeah, no code smell, linters are there. Maybe some unit tests are passing, because unit tests are like the easiest, low-hanging fruit just to write it, and it checks the logical flow in the code, but not necessarily business logic one-to-one, because I mean, you have to translate this business logic in a correct code, and then you can test it. So basically, unit tests can also be faulty against the business logic and what is required from the product. And move to the next stage. Then the QA person, tester, picks up to test it, check what's working. Maybe if there's like some design alignment is off slightly, or something like this. Just imagine normal corporate situation. And at some point, ticket gets marked as failed by tester and returns to the to-do column. So this is the usual flow in the same team. And this is, in the long run, this delays the process because everyone is so focused on finishing their own task, even though they are in the same team and trying to just push the product, but still delivering their own stuff only and not bypassing their own like silos, walls around them, that is like creating unhealthy conditions. So, and this is the closed loop. It means that the next sprint you'll have the same situation, even though you talked about this at the retrospective meetings and other meetings. The feedback, the unhealthy feedback loop still continues, and you need something to break this chain and the loop. So basically, when you move the ticket back to the QA, the engineer picks up this and spends time to adjust the changes accordingly to the new requirements by the tester, and just tries to bypass the failed test by the tester. So it means that testers should be always these gatekeepers who do not let the code to creep into the production code. And this GIF probably explains modern software development in a nutshell. So you can scale this up to the higher level or scale down. Nothing really changes because this is what we do in most cases. So we engineers are used to work in two columns, basically, in progress and in like the code review. So our main objective used to work in those columns and just push the ticket as fast as possible to the next column. The moment it reaches to the ready for testing column, in most of the Kanban boards, the agile boards you have, like developer is like, okay, I'm going to pick up the next ticket. Like it can rest there for another week. It's tester's problem. I don't care. And this is the end of the story. So what we want to achieve is the developers, testers, designers, product managers, all kinds of developers should be on the same paper, like on the same mindset, and it's that every member owns the board. Basically, you need to cover all the cases for the ticket, starting from to do to the done. The developer should care for all the columns and every member. This is a North Star. It means that once the developer prepares the code, like to get merged, there are a few strategies how it can get like in momentum for the tester, but usually it's like everyone in a team is a tester. So this is a quite new approach, which is like called the QA mindset. It's a vague term, but most of the times they use this to express that everyone in a team should be a tester. And like objectively, everyone can be a tester. But it boils down to the different points that we can cover. First is that there should be clear requirements by the product, the acceptance criteria, what we want to achieve, and what the product should look like after probably 2 weeks, at the end of the sprint. The next is that everyone in a team should be involved in the planning stage from day zero. It means that everyone has the same understanding what's going on, like what are the possible edge cases, what is the expectation from the stakeholders, what is the expectation from the team itself and how we are going to deliver this feature. So everyone has a shared knowledge and not like this when the engineers know the feature, but probably the other roles come into the play at the later stage because they don't really care at the development stage of this feature. So everyone should be involved at the same time. The next is that let's forget about the testers, that we have the dedicated role. Even though we have a tester in a team in this current situation, for example, let's forget about it and say that, hey, let's test this feature, and no matter of the platform, we should help each other to deliver this ticket from the first column to the last column. It means the team is sitting around the round table, and we should wear multiple hats. So if I'm the mobile engineer, I can help iOS engineers, maybe in a code review, maybe in the testing, maybe even at the design stage, like not actually open the Figma, but with the feedbacks and also the validating the output from other roles. It means that everyone in the same ship tries to cover all the possible leaks and edge cases from the whole team. So it's not your responsibility only to do the mobile development, it's your responsibility to be the excellent teammate, very proactive, and move the team forward. Yes, this is the matter of culture fit. Also, probably not for every organization because you have high cognitive load at this point, and you need like other prerequisites to fulfill this one thing. But this is like highly beneficial, and once you start pivoting to that area, then you can select the culture fit and also make the adjustments. So let's say everyone agrees to be a tester. The next question is how we are going to do this. So it doesn't mean that front-end engineer somehow have to open the mobile application and test it, or like test the backend or so on. And question is, yes, most of the times, but not that intricate details. Basically, as we agreed, we have the acceptance criteria, which is like in a top shape, and we have the test cases for this, written by, in your case, maybe the QA engineer which you have in a team, or from the product manager, product owner, whatever you call it. You have these test cases, like what you want to achieve and how we can test this to achieve. And then the developer can assign, so the thing is that because everyone is a tester, developer can assign other folks from the team, not necessarily developers, but also probably the designer to most, like for example, web-related front-end task, that, hey, could you please test this feature and let me assign you on Jira as a QA for this. And it means that now the developer who created this pull request and like merged this code is pairing with another folk, and they both together trying to resolve this ticket and find all the potential failures. It means that everyone knows how other platform is working and what are some intricate details on the platform. For instance, Android and iOS is quite different, even though we are trying to make some common designs and the same experiences. There's still slightly platform-independent stuff that you have to deal with. For example, you always have the different, if you are using like system components, in some cases, the share sheet, like for the share feature, you have to use like the system default share sheet if you want to go with that approach, or like the navigation intricate details. So each member of the team knows how to approach those platforms and knows its details. It means they know the product. So the developer and someone from, not explicitly from QA, but trying to QA this app, work together to push this feature forward. We are not stopping here. The next what we are doing is that we have bug bashing. So what is the bug bash? So bug bashing, usually at the end of the sprint, the team has bug bashing day. This is the event where the whole team sits roundtable or even the virtual call and test the feature or the features they have in the sprint. So this is the event where the people in the team already tested features independently and also in this specific environment, but now we have to test the whole flow, not only happy paths, but also error and like the failure cases. And it means that everyone can get the whole perspective of the product. It means that engineering manager is testing the backend, maybe backend API calls or front-end application, or product manager is testing the Android application, and it's quite easy. After first meeting, or like after few meetings, it is becoming easier. But there is a one catch. So you have to have one dedicated person who creates this document for every bug bashing day and lists the test users, copies the acceptance criteria or the test cases to that document and shares it with everyone. You can select this person randomly for every event, or you can have like predefined the calendar and select the users, select the team members who will do this bug bashing day, basically who will be the commander for the bug bashing day. Maybe you're thinking that it is hard to achieve in our reality because we have to deal with other issues, and you are correct. It's not easy to achieve, but as I mentioned in the earlier slides, this is a North Star. This is the point where we want to be, and this is the team awareness and the cultural fit we want to achieve, because otherwise the team will always feel dysfunctional and they always feel that, okay, so we are missing something out. Or another case, the sprints are always leaking. So development tries to finish the job in almost one sprint, but there is no time for testing, and then testing moves to the next sprint, and we delay the feature or we compromise the quality. So there's no other way to like solve these problems that we created. To overcome this, we have few tools, of course, to help with, because not everything is in manual. The manual is only the verification, the first verification. Then we have to automate it. For this, we have the QA engineers, but QA engineers still, like, what QA engineers are doing can be done by developer. So we still need QA engineers to help with the basically governance, to help the QA platforms, to integrate QA platforms in our daily workflow and other stuff, but most of this stuff can be still done by developers based on the tools we have, and still, come on, even these automation tools exist, developers usually create the framework to integrate it into the source code. So we still need developers to integrate it with the real application source code. So we will talk about a bit later about the tooling, but basically with the automation, we can introduce multiple levels of the automation. Like, let's forget about the unit testing, because unit testing is a must and basic development flow, like the life cycle requirement. So we automatically assume that we have the unit testing. So next is the scenario testing, which is quite a good concept, and it's not the end-to-end testing, because you can test the feature in isolation and even the separate screens, or like the transition from one screen to another, and it's very powerful because it is very easy to write, it is very concise, it is very easy to modify later, and you can run many mini tests at the same time and even in parallel. So for example, you have the screen flow where you open from some input, you open the bottom sheet, you select some data, for example, time or date, you click OK, you navigate to the next screen, and you have to have the pre-filled data already from the previous screen. You can write in the scenario testing for this. You don't need to every time pass the authentication, authorize the user. and set all the data just to be at this state. You can always mock this data, load this individual screen based on the fake data, and just try to write the first test to open the bottom sheet. Another test would be to open from that bottom sheet a screen, and third test would be just to follow this screen flow from end to end. And it usually takes few hours to write this once you have the test framework ready in your code base. And for this, I always offer and I try to pick the native approach. It means that on Android, on iOS, on the web, try to be as native as possible, close with the platform, because you can integrate those tests and the frameworks with the source code, and you can always easily mock data and use fakes instead of using some other fancy test frameworks or test utilities that hooks the application, but still they test very high-level stuff. So if you want to catch the button or wait for the loading state, you have to manually write, hey, sleep 5,000 milliseconds, or delay 5,000 milliseconds to wait this animation pass. Or if you want to click on some button, you have to get the button by the text. And if you have multilingual, multiple languages in the application, then you have to change your test or somehow find another approach. You will see this approach in many external testing tools, but not with the native approach, because for the native approach, you can always have your test tags. You can do semantic testing, even for the UI. You can do screenshot testing. You can do all the fancy stuff and automate it on the, you can run it nightly, because the screenshot test and the scenario tests are very concise and small. You can run it on every pull request. You can run it nightly. You can run for a specific feature, for a branch. You can post the results on the GitHub, on the Jira ticket automatically, and you can automate basically everything. So for this, you have your QA engineer from your team, which now helps the whole organization. Of course, there will be the QA chapter usually that help implementing these tools, and probably most of the large teams now, they have platform teams. So if you don't have platform teams, then you have to spend some time in the product team to build this stuff. But if you have platform teams in your organization, then it's quite easy, because this will be the major feature request for the platform team to create this framework and the tooling for the product teams. So invest heavily into tooling, and for my example, we had multiple layers of testing. We had the unit tests, we had the integration tests internally on the code level, we had the scenario tests, which I already talked about. We had the end-to-end tests, basically to test the whole application from top level. For example, the application opens the native photo camera application, then gets the result and tries to share to the email or in some third-party application. For this, you still can use the native approach, but instead of having in this case, espresso testing for Android, you need additional help from the UI automator to test system-wide components. But you are still native. You are doing still fast tests, and the simple emulators can bypass those tests. And the other test types was the semantic testing. Basically, you don't need to have emulator or the real phone, but you can test most of the UI stuff on it, because you know semantically what it should look like. So you test the semantic stuff. And of course, then you have the screenshot test for your design system and so on. So it means that with the screenshot tests, you can compare two different screenshots pixel by pixel with some tolerance, and just catch the errors on the fly, what's going on the design side. This is for developers. What we are talking here is mostly the automation stuff. What we have today on the market, none of those tools are like the new ones or like super fancy ones. Those tools exist, they just improved. That now currently, it is so easy to use them that it's no-brainer to invest in those toolings. And I've seen many organizations like converted to the native testings, and they had, for example, Appium or any other mobile solutions, and just went straight to the native because it's more efficient. So, are we going to delay some feature deliveries in the sprint? Yes, probably, especially in the first few sprints. But later, thing is that you invest into the safety and quality, and it is very easy to get back to the feature, change something, modify, and be 100% sure that it will work. It's not easy to achieve. It's simple, just to say that and explain, but it's very hard to achieve, and there are few prerequisites, as I mentioned, like the culture fit, the organization mindset, and just being very proactive and being the excellent teammate. So tooling is that the Espresso for Android, UI Automator for the global stuff on Android. For the iOS, we have XC Test Framework. Maestro is a new tool. Maestro is a very high-level tool, but unlike Appium, it is super, super easy to write. You have one YAML file, and you can just write there, okay, tap on this button, tap. The Maestro is the exceptional case where we can just adapt Maestro to cover our legacy code, just to have some kind of safety net, and then move into the other cases. Because if we adopt Maestro, it means that we are going back to the stuff where we don't need native testing, and we are equally on the Appium level, but better than Appium, but not native. So Maestro is a really good middle ground just to cover quickly most of the cases, have some kind of safety net, and then migrate to the native testing. Because probably the organizations and the huge apps, they have hundreds of screens not tested, and you need something to quickly cover the test. TestRail and Zephyr, so sorry, I'm just running out of time, so I have to wrap these tools quickly, but the TestRail and Zephyr, those are really good tools. Pricing is a bit tricky, but super nice tools. You can run all the test cases automatically. You can integrate with Jira. You can integrate with the Jira releases, hook it with your CI/CD system, and basically everything can be automated with those tools. They're test management systems, so both choices are really good. You can't go wrong. And the browser stack is a great tool if you don't have enough mobile devices in a team. You can use browser stack and test for mobile applications in the browser. Good for bug bashing day, when the whole team want to test something together. You can use browser stack, and everyone has the emulator under their belt, and quite cool devices like Samsung Flip and all the different form factors. And the last point is the team. I already talked about the team on a few times already. The culture fit and so on, but still, I want to emphasize the power of the team and the value of the team, because teams are those groups or some organisms in a company that build and ship the applications. Companies on its own doesn't really exist, so companies usually have the teams to push these features forward. So companies solely are just for the legal issues, to handle the tax and pay lots of taxes to the government, to handle the legal stuff, but this is just a legal construct. Companies doesn't exist on their own. Those are the teams that build the features, push it, build the culture around it, and basically have the happy folks, proactive folks together. So this is the end of my slides and my talk. So if you need to continue talking on this topic, we can go outside and have this QA outside. Also, I have quite cool stickers. I can share it with you. And basically, try to invest into the tooling, rethink the strategy, maybe rethink the native versus other approaches. And we can discuss on this. Thank you very much, and wish you a nice day. Oh, and one request. Let's take a selfie. So, this is a trend this year, probably, but that would be nice. Okay? Okay, I'll try to. Yes, that's it. Hey. Yay. Okay, thank you.